They tell the party what to do. You've been watching a show. You think the Democrats are still Democrats? They're not. They're not. I want you to understand there are two kinds of puppets here. The first puppet is the puppet organizations. You know, I don't know. This is the Musicians Union, and maybe this is SCIU and the AFL-CIO and ACORN. Their job on stage is to create an illusion of a big, dramatic movement that is happening. A grassroots. You know how Nancy Pelosi is always saying, oh, that's a grassroots, and that's AstroTurf, right? They're doing something on the stage, and they're getting you to believe something. But it's all part of the show. The second kind of puppet is an individual puppet. It could be John Kerry. It could be Van Jones. Could be Andy Stern, Richard Trumka, perhaps President Obama. Have you ever wondered who's at the other end of a BlackBerry? No president has ever had that. That was a security risk. Why did we spend so much money? Who does he need to talk to? Who does he need to see texts from? Who's writing the damn speeches in the teleprompter everywhere? There are also two storylines. If you would come to a show, there's always two storylines, and you'll see it in different movies about stages and stage performers. Even Moulin Rouge is just a favorite movie of my family. Two stories. There is what's happening on stage, and then there's the one behind the stage. You don't ever see what's happening behind. But the story that they're telling on stage and they're acting out, you know. Oh, the government needs to spend more money to stimulate the economy. No, we need more government intervention. Those evil rich people won't spend their money. We need more taxes. All of that. You know this storyline. But how much of it is real? How much of it is orchestrated? Well, there's only one way to find out that answer. And that is, you have to look behind the curtain. On this program, over the years, we have shown you the people who are taking our country apart piece by piece. And we've shown it to you in their own words. Well, we didn't expect to find many of the things that they've said, because many times they've said these things and they thought they were behind the curtain. They didn't expect you to see these words. Words from even the President of the United States.
I happen to be a proponent of a single-payer universal health care plan. A single-payer healthcare plan, universal healthcare plan. That's what I'd like to see.
He's at AFL-CIO. That wasn't part of the storyline. It wasn't supposed to be revealed. That was behind the curtain. He was talking to the AFL-CIO. Behind the scenes. Over the next couple of nights, we'll do our best to give you a complete tour of the show. The puppets, the money strings, the storylines, behind the stage, everything. Not just the parts they want you to see. And again, I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to read all of this yourself. All of the links and information and additional reading material will be available at glennbeck.com. Also in my free email newsletter. You can sign up for it there. Also, we have put it on theblaze.com. There are news stories about George Soros today. And also amazing stories about violence from MSNBC. We have a commentator last night saying that we wonder if there should be a revolution. Of course, he's saying now, of course the answer is yes, and maybe even a violent revolution. It's amazing what you are missing when you don't know what you're looking for. This isn't a conspiracy. That was on MSNBC. It's all out in the open. I believe you take a man at his word. And George Soros has publicly dedicated his life to this. He has even said he's willing to die for what he believes in. Here he is.
In the things that I am engaged in, I'm actually willing to put my life at risk. And I think it makes me feel much more complete.
Well, you complete me, George. I'm willing to put my life at stake, and so are many people in America. It's what you believe in. But what is it that he believes in? He has tens of billions of dollars all flowing in, pulling strings. His tentacles are everywhere. What is he going through all of this trouble for to achieve? Well, globalization. George Soros believes, quote, the main obstacle of a stable and just world order is the United States. Let that sink in for a minute. The main obstacle to a stable and just world order is the United States. We'll pick it up next there. Tonight, George Soros, and tomorrow night, even more. Please DVR this series of shows. There's a lot of meat here that I need you to do your own homework on and learn the truth yourself. But we want to find out a little bit more about him and who he is and where did he come from. His childhood is shocking, traumatic. He grew up in Nazi Europe. 14 years old, he had to help the government confiscate the lands of his fellow Jewish friends and neighbors. He didn't grow up in a very Jewish household. His mother was a strong anti-Semite. George Soros' words, not mine. But when he had to go over and take the lands from the people, his Jewish friends and neighbors, who were being sent to the gas chambers, I can't imagine what that would do to a teenager or anybody, an adult. Well, what did it do to George Soros? In an interview with Steve Kroft, Soros was asked if he felt guilt at all about taking the property from the Jews as a teenager. He responded, no. He also said, quote, I don't deny the Jews their national existence, but I don't want to be a part of it. Last night, the phone calls came in to Fox already before the show even aired, and they were saying that, there were Soros people saying that I am an anti-Semite because I was going to report this. I mean, I'm probably more supportive of Israel and the Jews than George Soros is. But that's neither here nor there. I don't believe pointing out the man's tragic beginnings makes you an anti-Semite. On this program for the last couple of years, we've been telling you about the people and the places and the things that you had never even considered before. At least I hadn't. Most people hadn't. And I told you that there was a structure being put into place in our country, and it was designed to bring about the fundamental transformation that has been promised. Through the course of this journey of discovery, amazingly, all the paths, time after time, really led to one man, George Soros. One guy. There's a crisis collapsing our economy. George Soros. When the administration and the progressives look for a savior to step in and save the day, George Soros. He makes predictions, and his loyal followers make sure they come true. He's pulled no punches about the end game. It's one world government. The end of America's status as the prevailing world power. But why? Well, if you want to understand the why, you have to ask questions, and there's a few things that you need to know about George Soros. And here they are.
People generally play with a certain set of rules. I am particularly interested in changes in the rules of the game.
80 years ago, George Soros was born. Little did the world know then, economies would collapse. Currencies would become worthless. Elections would be stolen. Regimes would fall. And one billionaire would find himself coincidentally at the center of it all. He was born in Budapest, Hungary on August 12, 1930, as George Schwartz, the son of Orthodox Jews. Today, Soros is an atheist who doesn't embrace his Jewish identity and rarely supports Jewish causes or Israel.
I've not been very engaged in Israel.
Why not?
I think there are enough Jews to take care of Israel.
In 1947, the Soros family relocated from Hungary to England, where George attended the Fabian Socialist London School of Economics. He moved to New York in 1956, became a U.S. citizen at 61, and at the age of 39, he started what would become the Quantum Fund, which he would use to attack currencies all across the globe. He later would be blamed for the financial collapses in Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia. And who could forget that he was the man who broke the Bank of England in 1992, shorting the British sterling by betting heavily that the currency would collapse despite government assurances to the contrary.
Today has been an extremely difficult and turbulent day. Massive speculative flows continue to disrupt the functioning exchange rate mechanism.
The money that I made on this particular transaction, the estimate is about $1 billion.
Along with currencies, Soros also collapses regimes. With his Open Society Fund, which was founded in 1979, Soros has helped fund the Velvet Revolution in the Czech Republic, the Orange Revolution in the Ukraine, the Rose Revolution in Georgia. He also helped engineer coups in Slovakia, Croatia, and Yugoslavia. So what is his target now? Us. America.
He said it himself on many occasions. He said, what I have done in other countries in terms of overturning bad governments, I'm going to do in this country.
Our country needs us. And we need people like George Soros, who is fearless and willing to step up when it counts.
Political analysts say the shadow party he has built here greatly resembles those he created in other countries before instigating a coup.
He created his own party within a party, or his shadow party outside of the Democratic Party, the Center for American Progress. That was one of the original shadow party groups. This group, from the beginning, was charged with getting control of the conservative media. Many of the people in the Obama administration were just drawn right up from there.
He spent millions in 2004 to drive President Bush out of office. He didn't succeed. But changing the attitude and policies of America, he says, remains his top priority. In one of his books, Soros writes, quote, "The main obstacle to a stable and just world order is the United States," end quote. You wouldn't want a man like this anywhere near the President of the United States, would you? Soros has been granted at least 4 visits so far to the Obama White House. This, a man who has repeatedly called for the devaluation of the dollar.
A slow decline in the value of the dollar, a managed decline.
He's waged a war against capitalism.
Capitalism is not directly opposed to open society. Nevertheless, it poses some serious threats.
This is a man who wants the world to be one global society without borders or individual governments. One global society and one global gatekeeper.
We are trying to describe a very complex problem in a very short period of time. It may take us 3 days to do this. I ask you that you would videotape or DVD every episode this week. I have been warning about a structure that progressives have worked to put into place. The health care bill, cap and trade, the stimulus bill. Thousands and thousands of pages that nobody has seemed to have read. We exposed this structure layer by layer until we finally got to the same guy over and over again, George Soros. Now, I just showed you how he collapsed regimes internationally, and now he's aiming at America. Soros has been calling for globalization for decades, saying, quote, "To stabilize and regulate a truly global economy, we need some global system of political decision-making. In short, we need a global society to support our global economy." Interestingly, the greatest opposition to this idea is coming from the United States. With the right sense of leadership and with a clarity of purpose, the U.S. and its allies could help stabilize the global economic system. The opportunity is waiting to be grasped. So he knows better. You just don't understand. Do you see the arrogance? Soros' goal for achieving globalization is done through organizations, puppet organizations, and he remains in the shadow. He's able to pull the strings because he's the money that animates each of these puppets. According to Shadow Party author Richard Poe, he wrote, "Through his global web of open society institutes and open society foundations, Soros has spent 25 years recruiting, training, indoctrinating, and installing a network of loyal operatives in 50 countries, placing them in positions of influence and in power in media, government, finance, and academia."